The Vel'kari delegation presented Sergeant Major Elena Vasquez with a living being like she was receiving a commendation ribbon. "This is irregular," Colonel Harrison said, his jaw tight. "We don't accept companions." The Vel'kari ambassador's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. A gesture Elena had learned indicated mild condescension. "The bond gift is our highest honor. Refusing would be diplomatically catastrophic." Elena stared at the small figure standing between the towering Vel'kari officials. The young alien couldn't have been more than 4 feet tall, her luminescent skin casting a soft blue glow in the harsh fluorescent light of the command tent. Her enormous dark eyes, too large for her delicate face, fixed on Elena with an expression that might have been fear. Or resentment. Hard to tell with the species she'd only read about in briefing packets. "Her name is Kiravel," the ambassador continued. "She will serve as your companion. It is our way." "I'm a soldier," Elena said flatly. "I don't need a companion. I need ammunition and functional comms equipment." The ambient temperature in the tent seemed to drop. The ambassador's luminescent patterns flickered. Anger. Elena's translator helpfully supplied. "Sergeant Major," Colonel Harrison's voice carried a warning. Elena had survived 3 colonial wars, 2 xenocide campaigns, and the massacre at Helion Fortitude. She had watched her entire squad burn alive on a moon whose name she couldn't pronounce. She didn't have room in her life for a diplomatic pet project. But she also understood orders. "Fine," she said. "She can bunk in my quarters." The young Vel'kari, Kiravel, flinched at Elena's tone. Her small hands, each bearing 6 slender fingers, clutched at the flowing garment she wore. She said nothing. As the delegation departed with elaborate farewells, Elena finally addressed her new acquisition. "Can you understand me?" "Yes." The voice was surprisingly clear, though soft. "Your translator is adequate. Good. Stay out of my way. Don't touch my gear, and don't expect conversation. This arrangement is political. Nothing more." Kiravel's luminescence dimmed noticeably. "I understand, human. You believe I am a burden, aren't you?" Those enormous eyes met Elena's gaze with unexpected steel. "Among my people, I am a failed bond seeker. I could not form connections with my own kind. They gave me to you because I am defective. Worthless." The words hit differently than Elena expected. She recognized that particular brand of self-deprecation, had heard it in her own voice, in dark moments after Helion the Fourth E. "Then we're 2 defective things stuck together," Elena said, her tone less harsh than intended. "Get some sleep. We move out at 500. That night, Elena dreamed of fire. She always dreamed of fire. Her squad's screams echoed through neural pathways scarred by trauma, and she woke gasping, hand reaching for a sidearm that wasn't there. In the darkness, a soft blue glow illuminated the corner of the room. Kiravel sat pressed against the wall, her knees drawn to her chest, her luminescence pulsing in an uneven rhythm that somehow felt distressed. "Your pain woke me," the young Vel'kari whispered. "I didn't make a sound. No. But I felt it. I should not be able to. You have no telepathic capacity. My instructors said humans are mind-blind. And yet..." She pressed a hand to her chest. "Here. I felt it here." Elena's jaw tightened. "Go back to sleep. It was just a dream." But Kiravel's enormous eyes held hers in the darkness, and for the first time, Elena saw something other than fear in them. She saw recognition. Forward Operating Base Kestrel sat on a plateau, overlooking the Rithian Valley, where Dominion forces had been massing for 3 weeks. Elena had been assigned to lead reconnaissance patrols into the surrounding hills. Dangerous work, made more complicated by her unwanted shadow. "She can't come on patrol," Corporal Davis said, not bothering to lower his voice. "She'll get us killed." Noted. Elena checked her rifle's charge pack. "She's coming anyway." The squad exchanged glances. Elena ignored them. Kiravel had proven surprisingly unobtrusive over the past week. She moved quietly, ate little, and seemed to understand military rhythms better than Elena had expected. But taking her into potential combat was different. "Kiravel." The young alien looked up from where she'd been studying a tactical display. "You stay behind me. You don't speak. If shooting starts, you find cover and you stay there." "Understood." I am not helpless. The words carried a quiet defiance. I was trained in. I don't care what you were trained in. You're my responsibility now. I don't lose people under my command. Something shifted in Kiravel's expression. The luminescence of her skin, which had been muted since her arrival, brightened slightly. You consider me, under your command? Elena paused. She hadn't meant it that way. Had she? Just stay behind me. The patrol moved out in the gray pre-dawn light. 6 soldiers and 1 small alien, picking their way through rocky terrain toward coordinates where drone surveillance had spotted Dominion activity. For 2 hours, nothing happened. The squad moved in disciplined silence, hand signals only. Kiravel kept pace without complaint, her bare feet. She'd refused combat boots, somehow finding purchase on rocks that made even experienced soldiers stumble. They were 3 kilometers from the suspected enemy position when Elena's instinct screamed. She raised a fist. The squad froze. What is it? Davis whispered. Elena didn't answer. She couldn't explain it. Just a feeling. A pressure behind her eyes, a wrongness in the air. Ambush, Kiravel said suddenly, her voice barely audible. 12 hostiles. That ridge, 30 meters. Every head turned toward her. How the hell do you know that? Davis demanded. I feel them. Their intentions are loud. There was no time to question it. Elena made a decision in a heartbeat. Covering positions. Now. The squad scattered behind available cover just as plasma bolts tore through the space they'd occupied. The Minion soldiers had good positions, elevated and concealed, but they'd lost the element of surprise. The firefight was brutal and brief. Elena moved through it on instinct, decades of training flowing through her muscles without conscious thought. She dropped 3 enemies herself, coordinated squad movements with efficient hand signals. And when it was over, she had 1 wounded soldier and 6 dead Dominion operatives. She found Kiravel exactly where she told her to be, pressed into a crevice between 2 boulders, small body curled tight. It's over, Elena said. You okay? Kiravel's luminescence was erratic, pulsing in jagged patterns. When she looked up, there were tears. Or something like tears. Streaming down her face. I felt them die, she whispered. All of them, even the enemies. Elena's chest tightened in a way she didn't want to examine. Can you walk? A small nod. Then let's move. We need to get Thompson back to base. But as the squad began the trek home, Elena found herself adjusting her pace to match Kiravel's shorter stride. And when the young alien stumbled on loose scree, Elena's hand shot out to steady her without conscious thought. Kiravel looked up at her with those 2 large eyes. Thank you, she said softly, for believing me. About the ambush. You saved our lives. I'd be a poor commander if I didn't listen when someone offers good intel. Elena paused. How did you know? I do not know. It should not be possible. Humans are mind-blind. Yeah, you mentioned. And yet I felt your nightmare. I felt the ambush. I feel... She trailed off, her luminescence shifting to something warmer. I feel you. Your grief. Your determination. The way you carry your dead with you every moment. Elena should have been angry. Should have felt violated. Instead, she felt something crack open in her chest, a door she'd welded shut years ago. Most people can't see that, she said quietly. Most people are not looking. That night, Elena didn't dream of fire. She dreamed of blue light, soft and steady, holding the darkness at bay. 3 months into their assignment, Elena stopped thinking of Kiravel as an obligation. She wasn't sure when the shift had happened. Maybe when Kiravel had started anticipating her needs, having hot coffee ready before Elena woke, knowing when she needed silence versus when she needed distraction. Maybe when the young alien had begun offering tactical insights during mission briefings, her ability to sense hostile intentions proving invaluable. Or maybe it was the small things. The way Kiravel hummed an odd, atonal melody while cleaning their shared quarters. The questions she asked about Earth. Genuine curiosity, not diplomatic small talk. The gentle persistence with which she'd drawn Elena into actual conversation. Tell me about your home. Kiravel asked one evening as they sat on the ridge behind the base watching the binary sunset. Which one? I've had a lot of them. The first one. Where you were small. Elena considered deflecting. She'd shared nothing personal with anyone in years. Montana, she heard herself say. Wide open spaces. Mountains. My father was a rancher. Cattle, if you can believe it. Actual animals. You loved it. It wasn't a question. Yeah, I did. Elena pulled at a blade of the purple grass that covered the plateau. Haven't been back in 15 years. More. Wouldn't recognize me now anyway. The war changed you. Wars died away. Plural died. Elena's voice hardened before she could stop it. And they don't change you. They strip things away. Everything soft. Everything that makes you human. Until you're just machinery. Point and shoot. Follow orders. Don't think about what you're leaving behind. Kiravel was silent for a long moment. Her luminescence had taken on a steady golden tone that Elena had learned meant deep contemplation. My people believe that bonds restore what war destroys, she said finally. It is why we give companions to warriors. Not as rewards, as medicine. So I'm a patient? You're my treatment? No. Kiravel turned to face her, and there was nothing childlike in her expression despite her small stature. I was wrong when I told you I was defective. My instructors were wrong. I could not bond with my own kind because I was not meant to. The resonance was never right. And with me, with you, Elena Vasquez, I feel everything. Every crack in your spirit. Every scar on your soul. Every ember of warmth you have tried so hard to bury. Kiravel reached out, her slender fingers hovering near Elena's hand without quite touching. It should be impossible. Humans have no telepathy. You cannot bond. Elena looked at that small hand, luminescent skin casting blue shadows in the fading light. Then why do you feel my pain? I do not know. But I feel more than your pain. Kiravel's voice dropped to barely a whisper. I feel your strength, your honor. The love you think you have lost the capacity for. Elena's throat tightened. She thought of Helion the Fourth E. Of watching her people burn. Of the walls she'd built, brick by brick, year by year, until nothing could get through. Until a small, luminescent alien had looked at her with those impossible eyes and seen everything she'd hidden. This wasn't supposed to happen, Elena said hoarsely. You were just a political obligation. And you were just a mind-blind human who could not possibly understand my kind. Kiravel's lips curved in the first real smile Elena had seen from her. It seems we were both mistaken. The alert klaxons shattered the moment. Elena was on her feet instantly, combat mode slamming into place. Base attack? But even as she asked, she knew it was worse. The pattern of the alarms, the distant sound of explosions. This wasn't a raid. This was an assault. Full Dominion offensive. The comms crackled. All personnel to defensive positions. This is not a drill. Elena grabbed her rifle from where it leaned against a rock. Kiravel, get to the bunker. Now to rende. No, I shall. That wasn't a request. And I am not refusing to be difficult. Kiravel's luminescence had shifted to a sharp, determined white. I can feel them coming. Hundreds of minds, all intent on destruction. If I go to the bunker, I cannot help you. Help me how? This is combat. I can tell you where they are, what they're planning, where the assault will strike next. Kiravel stepped closer, and despite her small stature, there was nothing fragile about her in that moment. You are not the only one who has lost people, Elena. My entire bond class died in the Vel'kari purges because we could not fight. We could only feel each other dying, one by one. Elena's heart clenched. I will not feel you die while I hide in safety, Kiravel continued, her voice fierce. I cannot fight with weapons, but I can fight with what I have. Let me. There was no time to argue. The first wave was already hitting the eastern perimeter. Stay close, Elena ordered. Tell me everything. What followed was the longest night of Elena's military career. The Dominion had committed everything. This was their push to break the human presence in the sector, and they had numbers and firepower on their side. But they didn't have Kiravel. The young alien moved beside Elena like a shadow, her whispered warnings providing seconds of advance notice that saved lives again and again. 3 coming around that corner. The building on the left, second floor, sniper. They're about to breach the motor pool. Feel the demolition team. 4 minds, determined. Elena relayed the intelligence to her squad, to other squads. Command when comms allowed. And slowly, impossibly, the defenders began to hold. But war is never clean, and not every warning came in time. Elena was crossing a gap between buildings when Kiravel screamed. Down! Elena dropped just as plasma fire tore through the space where her head had been. She rolled, came up shooting, and dropped the Dominion soldier who'd had her dead to rights. When she turned back, Kiravel was on the ground. The shot meant for Elena had caught the young alien in the shoulder instead. Luminescent blood, the same soft blue as her skin, pooled beneath her small body. No, duh. Elena scrambled to her side, hands pressing against the wound. No, no, no. I felt it coming. Kiravel whispered, her voice thin with pain. I felt where he was aiming. Your heart, Elena. He was aiming for your heart. You idiot. You absolute idiot. Elena's hands were shaking. When had her hands ever shaken? Could not let you die. Kiravel's enormous eyes were dimming, her luminescence flickering. Felt too much to let you die. Medic! Elena screamed into her comm. I need a medic at Sector 7 now. But she knew, even as she held pressure on the wound, that help was far away. The fighting raged around them. The base was chaos. Kiravel reached up with her uninjured arm, her blood-stained fingers finding Elena's cheek. Feel this, she whispered. Feel what I feel. And suddenly, Elena did. It crashed over her like a wave, emotion so profound, so complex, that her mind could barely process it. Love, yes, but more than love. Recognition. A sense of completion so deep, it seemed to rearrange her very cells. She felt herself as Kiravel felt her. Not a scarred soldier, not a broken woman, but a soul of fierce light, wounded but undiminished, capable of such tenderness that it took Kiravel's breath away. She felt Kiravel's fear, not of dying, but of leaving Elena alone in the dark again. She felt the bond. Real and true and impossible. Stay with me, Elena heard herself say, and she wasn't sure if she was speaking to Kiravel or to that impossible connection. Stay with me. The medical bay was overcrowded and understaffed, but Elena had carried Kiravel there herself, had stood guard while the doctors worked, had refused every order to return to the line until Colonel Harrison came in, personally, and found a situation even he recognized as beyond rank. She'll live, the doctor had said. The Vel'kari are surprisingly resilient, but she needs rest, not a soldier looming over her. Elena hadn't loomed. She'd sat in a hard plastic chair beside the bed for 7 hours, watching the slow pulse of Kiravel's luminescence as she slept. The soft blue glow was steadier now, no longer flickering with pain. The battle had ended near dawn. Dominion forces had broken against the defenders' positions and retreated into the mountains. Casualties were heavy on both sides, but the base still stood. Elena didn't care about any of it. You should not be here, Kiravel said softly, her eyes still closed. Your people need you. My people are fine. You're the one who took a plasma bolt. Those enormous eyes opened slowly, finding Elena in the dim light of the medical bay. I felt you. The whole time. Your fear. I wasn't afraid. You were terrified. Kiravel's lips curved weakly. The great warrior, unmoved by death, was terrified for one small, defective bond seeker. Elena's throat tightened. You're not defective. No, I am beginning to understand that. Kiravel shifted slightly, wincing at the movement. My instructors taught that true bonds require telepathic compatibility. 2 Vel'kari minds, resonating in harmony. What I feel with you should not exist. But it does. It does. Kiravel reached out, and this time, Elena took her hand. The luminescent fingers were cool against her calloused palm. When I touched you during the battle, you felt it. The bond. My mind touching yours. I felt everything. Elena's voice was rough. I felt how you see me. It was Overwhelming. Beautiful. The word came out before Elena could stop it. You see something beautiful in me. I don't understand how. Because you cannot see yourself as you are. Kiravel's grip tightened. You see only the scars, the failures, the fire. But I see what lies beneath all of that. A soul that refuses to stop protecting others, even when it costs everything. A heart that still loves, despite every wound. Elena blinked hard against the burning in her eyes. She hadn't cried since Helion the Fourth E. Hadn't allowed herself. My people said humans cannot bond, because you have no telepathy. Kiravel continued. They were wrong. You bond through something else. Something they cannot perceive. You call it empathy? Compassion? The ability to feel another's pain without any psychic connection. That's just being human. Is it? My people can feel minds, but we cannot always feel hearts. We sense thoughts, but miss the emotions beneath. Kiravel's luminescence shifted to that warm gold that Elena had learned meant something profound. You have felt my pain from the beginning. When I told you I was worthless, you saw yourself in me. When I wept for the enemies I felt dying, you steadied me without judgment. When I was hurt, you were afraid. Because Elena, stopped. Because you what? The medical bay was quiet. In the distance, the sounds of the base slowly returning to function filtered through the walls. But in this moment, there was only the soft blue glow and the impossible connection between two beings who should never have been able to understand each other. Because somewhere along the way, Elena said slowly, you stopped being an obligation, a burden, a political gift. She met those enormous eyes. You became mine, my responsibility, my companion. No, Joe. Elena flinched. Not yours in the way of ownership. Kiravel's voice was gentle but firm. My people use companion to mean one who belongs to another. But that is not what we are. What I feel with you is not belonging to. It is belonging with. There's a difference? Yes. I do not serve you, Elena. I stand beside you. The bond we have made is not master and companion. It is two wounded souls who recognized each other in the dark. Kiravel lifted their joined hands, pressing them against her chest where Elena had seen her touch before, when she spoke of feeling things. You asked why I feel your pain when you have no telepathy. I know the answer now. Elena waited. Because you feel mine. Kiravel's eyes glistened with those strange, luminescent tears. From the first night, when you woke from nightmares and saw me in the corner, you knew I was suffering too. You did not dismiss it. You did not tell me to go back to sleep and pretend. You asked if I was okay. One small question, from a soldier who wanted nothing to do with me. That was it was everything. No one had ever asked. My instructors saw only my failure to bond. My people saw only a defective youth. But you saw me. And something in me reached out and found something in you reaching back. Elena remembered that night. The darkness. The blue glow. The strange girl who shouldn't have been able to feel her nightmares. The bond isn't telepathy, she said slowly, understanding dawning. It's care. Attention. The human gift of seeing another's suffering and choosing to witness it instead of looking away. Kiravel smiled, and it was like sunrise after a long night. My people have been bonding with the wrong sense. They look for minds that match. But you humans, you bond with hearts. Something broke open in Elena's chest. Not painfully, but like ice cracking in spring. Like a door opening to air and light after years of darkness. I don't know how to do this, she admitted. I've spent 15 years keeping everyone at arm's length. I don't know how to be what you need. You already are. Kiravel tugged gently at Elena's hand. Come closer. Elena leaned forward and Kiravel pressed her luminescent forehead against Elena's scarred one. The contact sent a pulse of warmth through Elena's entire body. Not telepathy, but something deeper. Recognition. I will not ask you to be unbroken, Kiravel whispered against her skin. I will not ask you to forget your dead or release your grief. I ask only that you let me walk beside you. Let me feel what you feel. Let me share the weight. And what do you get out of this arrangement? I get someone who sees me. Someone who does not look away. Kiravel pulled back slightly, her enormous eyes full of light. I get the warrior with the gentle heart who carried me through a battlefield because she could not bear to leave me alone. I get Elena Vasquez, who was certain she had nothing left to give, but gave me everything anyway. Elena laughed, a rusty sound, unused for years. Sounds like you got the worst end of this deal. Then you are not seeing clearly. Kiravel touched Elena's face, tracing the scar that ran from her temple to her jaw. But that is acceptable. I will see for both of us, until you learn. Outside, the sun was rising over a battered base, and a valley still smoking from battle. There would be more fighting ahead. More death. More fire. But for the first time in 15 years, Elena wasn't facing it alone. My people were wrong about humans, Kiravel said softly. They said you cannot bond. But you bond more deeply than we ever knew. You bond with broken things and make them whole. You bond with lost things and give them home. And you? Elena asked. What are you to me? Kiravel's luminescence blazed warm and bright, steadier than Elena had ever seen it. I am yours, she said. And you are mine, not because we own each other, but because we chose each other. In the dark, in the pain, in the impossible space between our kinds, we chose. Elena felt the truth of it resonate through her bones, through her scars, through all the places she thought were dead and cold. I guess I did, she said softly. I guess I really did. And in a galaxy that insisted they could never understand each other, a mind-blind human and a failed bond-seeker proved everyone wrong. Not with telepathy, but with something far older and far stronger. With love. With choice. With the simple, profound act of refusing to let go.